Hey y'all, today I'm going to be showing you how to look like a Gucci model. Gucci, if you're watching this, please let me model for you. First off, you need a random turtleneck, make it colorful. And then some random shirt that doesn't match it. And then a random vest. Layering is important. And then a bright green or bright colored jacket. Some vinyl pants. Maybe put on a little mini skirt over top of that. I know, stylish. A headscarf. This is very crucial. This is a Gucci staple. I have my Gucci sunglasses on. Some clear heels with some socks, of course. Some bright pink lipstick. And just like that, I'm a model for Gucci, kind.
Gonna make you wanna why you even try. Gonna take you down and left for you to cry. And I still don't know how I even survive.
What is up? Welcome to My Dream Job Journey, an event series from Adobe where we chat with special guests about how they achieved their dream careers. I'm your host, Katrina Torrijos, and I am the Adobe Creative Cloud Express Evangelist, and I'm also a content creator on YouTube and Twitch. Now, this is the third event in this series, so if you wanted to watch our past Dream Job events, check them out on the Creative Cloud LinkedIn page after this event. So shout out to everyone in chat with us. Who do we have here? We have Ariana, we have Vicky. Hello, what is up, Winish? Welcome to the live. Awesome. You guys are super awesome. So excited to be here with y'all today. I am here with Cameron Williams from Gucci and Leya Ijaz from Kith. So what is up, y'all? How are you guys feeling today?
Feeling great.
Feeling good.
Nice. I'm super excited. What is up, Travis? What is up, Jordan? So many people in chat already. They're so excited to hear from you all. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We have so many people. Cool. Okay. Well, these two are brilliant creatives who landed amazing roles in the fashion industry, and today we'll be doing a Q&A session, and they'll also be taking us behind the scenes on how they use Creative Cloud Express to create some really cool projects. Hello, so many people from we have another person from NYC. Are both of you from NYC?
Yeah.
Right, NYC fam, let's go. Awesome. We have Kith from South Africa. Wow. Lisa is in Nevada. We have Megan from Oregon. Gosh, so many people from different corners of the world tonight. Awesome. So, everybody, also, if you're in the stream right now watching it live, stay tuned until the end because we are having an after party in the Creative Career Discord server in the voice chat, which I'll show y'all a little later after the Q&A session. And we'll also be doing a giveaway where a few of you could be randomly selected for a mentoring session with Cameron and Leya and a free year of Creative Cloud Express. Let's go. All right. So, all right, you two, are you ready to answer some questions?
Yes.
Sweet. Okay. So yeah, everyone in chat, if you have any questions for Leya or Cameron, feel free to start posting them in there. I have a team that's collecting all the questions, and I'm also watching the chat as well. So go ahead and start asking questions. But to get us started off, for everyone who's just meeting you, let's just do a bit of an introduction. So who you are, what you do, and just a little bit about yourself that you'd like to share. Cameron, would you like to kick us off?
I'd love to kick us off.
Awesome.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cameron Williams. I'm 23. I'm from Chicago, and now I live in New York. I just graduated last May from Pace University in New York, and I was studying communications and marketing. And all through college, I've been in the fashion industry, you know, whether it was doing like retail jobs, doing internships. And all of a sudden, after a lot of journeying, I ended up at where I am now as the media coordinator at Gucci. And beyond that, I'm a music lover. I'm a fashion lover through and through. I'm very, very tall. I'm like 6'4". I like to eat
Whoa.
food. I like to ride bicycles. I love New York, and yeah, it's just a little bit about me. I'm guessing you guys will learn more about me as we go on. But yeah.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Leia.
Hi guys. So my name is Leia and I'm 22 years old. I grew up in New York, so I'm like born and raised, but when I was 10, I moved to Geneva, Switzerland. And when I graduated high school, I decided to go to university in Amsterdam, to the University of Amsterdam, where I studied media and culture and specialized in film. So that's like my like school journey kind of. And I also on the side, I've been modeling since I was 16 years old and also acting a bit in the last few years. And I've also like I've just always been like very kind of like creative. So that was always like my hobby. And then after high school, when it came time to decide, I was like, you know what, like I'm good in sciences and everything, but I want my job to be my passion. And that's kind of like how I ended up doing what I love. And I'm sure we'll talk about more about how I ended up back in New York, back at where I grew up. So yeah.
Love that. Awesome. Okay, so I guess the next question to follow up on that is how did y'all get started on your career journey in the fashion industry or a career journey in general?
How do we get started? Well,
How did you get started, Cameron?
it started with figuring out that fashion is what I wanted to do. Once upon a time in high school, I was in an arts high school where I was doing like a lot of different things, like dance and acting and musical theater. And like I knew I was creative but didn't really know what I wanted to do. But then I can't actually remember what it was. I remember I was on Twitter and I saw Yeezy season 1, Kanye's first fashion show, and it suddenly really just clicked. I was like, oh my gosh, like fashion is what it is. I want to be in fashion. I want to move to New York. I want to do internships. I want to like design. I want to create direct. I want to do marketing. I want to do like all this type of stuff. So it just took a moment of me like figuring out what I wanted to do and then researching what it was. So like I love how these clothes look. I love this cool moment by a cool designer. But like what is it? What can I actually make of that? So I really just started, on Wikipedia, Googling people's careers. I used to read Andre Leon Talley's career, Anna Wintour's career, just like really studying people that I knew, people who I can find and what they did. And then it kind of started to trickle down to me understanding what exactly I want to do.
Love that.
So with me, basically, okay, so my mom had a really like killer sense of fashion. Like she was such an it girl, like at the time in New York, and like she has all these vintage designer pieces. Like now I'm so spoiled. Well, actually, like she doesn't always let me take them anymore. But like generally, like I just grew up like loving fashion and high fashion, and like I saw it on her. Like I saw how like it can be an expression of oneself. But I honestly, like for the longest time, never thought I would like work in fashion. I hesitated on going to fashion school when I was done with high school, but I also knew I didn't want to put myself into that box just yet, like I knew, like Cameron said, like I was creative in so many different ways, like this and this and that. And I just didn't feel like if I went to fashion school, I would just, like be stuck in fashion, which isn't necessarily true for everyone, but that's just how I felt for myself. So that's why I did media and like film, and like I was just able to get like a global view of what being in a creative industry could be like. And it's actually great because I was feeling really insecure for the longest time about the fact that like I was creative in like a lot of different like small different things and didn't have that like set thing that I was like so good at. But actually like now I realize that's actually like a blessing that like I'm interested in all these like smaller things. But yeah, so like working also as a model and stuff and like being more in the fashion industry, I really like enjoyed it, but still never really thought that I would like end up in fashion. I actually honestly up until a couple of months ago when I was doing like film, like I was really interested in film. I thought I would be more in like creative direction for like, you know, short ads, which could also be in fashion, but I also thought it could be like other things. But when I landed my internship at Kith, I realized like, okay, I actually really love fashion, and I'm like so happy, and like fashion is my passion, like and all of that. So I realized it's like the perfect job because my position, like I'm not like designing or whatever, like, you know, like I'm really like on the content team and everything. So I realized it's kind of like merging like what I wanted to like be in fashion, but to also do other things. So yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. That's really cool how you guys both found your way and your love for fashion. That is amazing. And I have a question from Sophia Sophia Wilson. She asks, what has the transition from college to being part of at such big companies been like? So transitioning from school to working at big companies, what was it like?
I think that Cameron, do you want me to go first, or do you want?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So transitioning from college to big company, I was so hungry in university. I was like, I'm learning all this theory and like I have all this information and I want to use it. Like I want to start building my portfolio. I want to start like, you know, like I'm ambitious. I want to be someone. I want to do things. And it's like, okay, I'm stuck, you know? So I was like so excited to finally be able to like work somewhere where I can like put my ideas into like actual making and like talk to people about it and like really make things happen. And now that I'm at this company, like a part of me is like, oh, like I didn't have to be so quick about it, you know, like I could have enjoyed a little bit of like this like college experience. So like I think what you should take out of it is that it's so good to be hungry. Like it's so good to want to work at these places, but also like don't forget to like enjoy being a student and take that time because like it's just a process, you know, like you're growing into like an adult and it's just, I don't know, like it's so daunting when you think about it, the anticipation of everything, but when it's happening, it's very like natural, you know, like I don't feel this crazy like transition in my life. It's just like, you know, it kind of just happens, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. I'd say the transition for me has been very gradual. You know, I can say I was really on it when I first came to New York, when I first came to college, because I already had my career in mind from freshman year. So I was already doing, like planning on doing internships. Just because in all of these bios and all this research that I was looking at, everybody started as an intern. So I was like, oh, okay. I have to intern. But I didn't start interning at Balenciaga. Like I started interning at like a no-name like PR place that I probably Googled and probably had half an interview for. And I took that opportunity for what it is. I took that place for what it was and just learned everything I needed to learn there.
Yeah.
So I moved to something slightly bigger. I worked at this company called Tanya Taylor and I was doing marketing for them. I was like, this isn't Dior, but it's a really good company that's placed at my side, placed in front of me. So I'm gonna like learn from these people, learn from these experiences, build my archive of knowledge, and be a pro here. So the next place I go, I can like go smoothly. You know what I'm saying? Like then I went to a magazine called Paper, and I was doing editorial content and sample trafficking, which was a slightly bigger company, but I started at the bottom there. So I was making sure I was working super hard and, you know, out of all the people who were there, trying to make sure I was like known in some capacity, making sure my manager was able to see that I was like a cool person who's wearing cool things in New York, but also a hard worker that would say yes to any task, wouldn't be lazy, would be completely dedicated and hardworking. And then she trusted me enough to give me my next recommendation at Louis Vuitton. So I guess, and this was around like my junior year of college. So I was in college working at this big place at an intern level. And I guess that transition was not easy, but it's where I learned the true meaning of hard work and high excellence. So being able to go to school and survive and take finals as you have to produce like a full-time employee at an intern level. So, you know, just, and the thing is, I say all this to say this. Like, had I not taken that first internship at that no-name place seriously, I wouldn't have had the work ethic to balance, like, you know, midterm exams and a Louis Vuitton internship. If I wasn't, like, you know, dedicating myself at Paper or at Tanya Taylor, like, I wouldn't be able to show off to these people at LV, and I wouldn't have gotten to Gucci. So the transition is gradual because I worked very hard all the way through it. And, you know, I'm sure you can attest to this. That's what it takes. You have to work hard.
100%.
All the way through it.
Yeah, and to add to that, like, I also think kind of like it's not exact, like, it's a lot of trial and error, but every error brings you closer to like the right answer, kind of, you know what I mean? So like, I also had a really shitty PR internship, actually. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but
okay.
you know, and it did like bring me, you know, still like experience in some things, and it also teaches you what you don't like, because that's so important, especially when you're not 100%, or even if you are 100% sure of what you want. Like, sometimes it's not the right company for you, or sometimes it's just not the right position, or sometimes it's just you don't even want to do that at all. So I think that, you know, it's okay to take, a lot of people have this pressure to like immediately have a job after college, and like my advice is like during college, do those internships so that if you want a job straight out of college, like then you know what you want and you can go for it, you know, because it's really hard nowadays to like just immediately get a job without any internship experience, without any kind of like experience at all. So I would just say like, take the time to, you know, figure out what you want. Like every summer, you know, you find something, and then this way it also feels more gradual, because, you know, then you're like, oh, I did that small job, and then this like bigger job, and then I did a 3 month, and then 6 months, and then eventually once you get your full-time position, you're like, wait a minute, this is just like a continuation of like everything else that I've been doing already.
Yeah, super true. And like, while we're talking about like having difficulty finding a job outside, like right out of college without an internship, Maggie asks, how did you land a job in this competitive market, especially since you're in NYC?
I mean, you're right. It's a competitive market.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Are you saying a job or an internship? Well, I'll just,
Or both, you
I'll
know.
say both, yeah. Well, finding an internship, even though I went to a school in the city where my career was, I didn't get anything from my school. I love Pace. It afforded me a lot, but every job that I've gotten was completely external from school. So what does that mean? A lot of applying online, freefashioninternships.com. But even when that failed, a lot of my connections just came from meeting people. I learned the value of being nice very early on, being very kind, being very accommodative to anybody I met. You know, it doesn't even have to be someone at a manager level. It can just be a friend. Like, someone asked how I got my internship at Paper. Really funny. I think I remember coming to college, wanting to work at Paper Magazine so bad. I applied on their website, and when I tell you they ghosted me, they ghosted me. But I think my sophomore year, first semester of sophomore year, I was in a Bible study group at my college. And one of the girls in there, Sophie, so sweet, she was talking about how she was really stressed out about her job. I was like, oh, where do you work? She was like, I work at Paper Magazine. I'm an intern. Like, and the great part was I didn't have to come out the woodwork. Like, I'm a random person. Give me your job. You know, me and her, we had already become friends. We were already speaking nicely in the same way I spoke nicely to my manager or to my, my best friend or to my teachers. And then she was able to pass my name on and get me into an interview there, you know. And then from there, like being nice to not just my manager or like my direct staff, but saying hi to people in the kitchen or the coffee area or being on set at a photo shoot and like being like, do you need help with anything? Like, if you need help, just let me know. I can help take this bag to the truck. I can help pack up these samples. I can help do this. You know, just really being open. And I know I'm great at talking right now, but in my personal life, I'm kind of like, I really used to be introverted, but I realized that really wasn't gonna work. Like, I had to talk to people. I had to go out on a limb,
Yeah.
make myself uncomfortable, and open myself to other people, because how people talk in the fashion industry, it's word of mouth. It's Cameron's good at this, Cameron's not good at that. You know, Cameron will be great for this role or be great for this opportunity. So just making sure you're nice and open and willing to help and willing to work.
Yeah. I 100% agree with what Cameron is saying. Like, especially the nice part, like, I think the energy that you bring to the table, that you bring in front of someone, like, you never know who you're sitting in front of, like, who that conversation that you're having with this person that will change your life or that will bring you to your next step. Like, I don't know, I'm a firm believer of, like, everything happens for a reason, and that, like, you know, the people you meet in your life are put there for a reason, even if it's a random stranger or of a friend, but you always just have, like, obviously, you know, it's not easy. Sometimes you're having a bad day. Sometimes, you know, you're not feeling great. That's totally understandable. Like, we all have that. But even when you're having a bad day, you can still bring good energy, if that makes sense, you know, like, and so I 100% like agree with what he's saying, that you need to like put yourself out there. I mean, that's how I got my internship. Like, you know, it's not about like, it's about talking to people. And I know I'm an extrovert, so like it does come very natural to me. Like all of my friends say it's my superpower. Like I can start a conversation with just anyone and like connect and find a way to like, but in general, like it's just like really small, simple steps. Like you can even have like sentences prepared for yourself so that like if you're ever in front of someone, like, you know, you can train yourself in a way, you know, it doesn't, even if it doesn't come like fully naturally to you, like for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So it sounds like both of you kind of got your roles kind of through networking, right? So Johnny in the chat is asking like, what are some of your networking tips, or how are you networking? They've done workshops and assistant jobs and have gotten nowhere. So what are your tips?
Okay, so I got my internship because I was in Amsterdam and I was sitting at a table, and there was this other girl sitting at the table. I was with my best friend, and I ordered myself a cookie because I was hungry, and they gave me an extra cookie because they saw that I was with my friend, and I was not going to eat 2 cookies because they were like pretty big. And this woman in front of me was staring at my cookie, and I was like, "Do you want it? Like they gave me an extra one. I can see you're looking at it, so like you can have it if you want it." So being nice, you know, like, or being like open and friendly. And so then she like, you know, got the cookie, and I was like, "Oh, like, are you from here?" "No, I'm from New York." And then I said, "Oh, like I grew up in New York, blah, blah, blah." We started talking, and then I was like, "So what do you do?" And she goes, "Oh, I work at Kith, you know, like in the creative side, whatever." But she didn't even give me her name. I was just very curious, and that's something that's also really important. Always stay like for me, curiosity is like one of the most like important things. And I just knew when I met her, like I just had this feeling. I was like, I need to know who this person is. Like, and I was at a moment in my life where I also really wanted the next opportunity. So anytime I heard someone say they're in a creative industry, I was like, I need to keep in contact with you in some form or way. But you also just need to know how to read a room. Like if I had asked her then and there, like for her number, like I think I could have, but I also just knew that like it was a very like simple conversation, and like I didn't want to like overstep also. But I went on LinkedIn. So that's also if you're struggling to connect, like LinkedIn is literally going to be your best friend. I went to Kith. I looked at every single person who worked there. It took me an hour to go through every single person who worked there, and I found her. And I found her Instagram, and I sent her a message a couple of weeks later. I let a few weeks slide. I didn't want to be like overbearing and like immediately text her. And I was like, "Hey, I am looking to come back to New York. I want an internship. Do you have like anything available? Like, I love what you do." She's the art director there, by the way. And she answered my message immediately. She now tells me in hindsight, like, you know, that she got so excited when she even saw my message. Because, like, you know, I put myself out there, and she really appreciated that. And hearing your boss say that to you is like a big deal. So that's also like really important, like that you guys, like, you need to put yourself out there. Like, yes, I was at the right place at the right time, but I could have completely ignored that opportunity and my life would be completely different right now, you know, and my career would be in a different place. So we got on a call and she hired me, and that's like the start of how I ended up at Kith. Sorry, that was a little bit of a like parenthesis.
Okay.
But I think it's important that you guys kind of know like
Yeah.
how I got there, because I think it's like a nice story to know that, like, you know, you never know who's sitting in front of you. You know, you never know who's that person that will like change your career. And if I wasn't nice to her, if I hadn't like started that conversation, if I had like a lot of things would be different. So it's just like important to use LinkedIn. Like even before her, I would look at people who like work in my industry and I wouldn't ask them for a job. I wouldn't ask them for an internship. I'd say, hey, I would love to hear about your journey. Like, can we meet for coffee? And then we would get coffee and then I would convince them that they needed me. And that's how you do it. No, that's not how you do it. But I'm saying that's a great like segue, because like everyone wants an internship, but if you meet with them, they meet you, you charm them, like it's easier that way.
Yeah, literally. It's so fun. I literally do the same thing. I run through LinkedIn, like job, like literally I search everybody in the company until I find who it is.
Yeah.
But seriously, you know, like little stories like that happen all the time. Like back in high school, I was working retail at Abercrombie and Fitch, and there was this girl who was also named Cameron, and we connected on Instagram. I think my first semester at college, I was in New York, and she DM'd me, was like, OMG, like I'm supposed to be assisting at this fashion week thing, but I can't. Do you think you can volunteer for them? Like really random out of the blue. I went there, I volunteered in my cute little whatever outfit I was wearing. And then what, like some random lady on set asked me to like take a picture of her shoe. And she was like, you have a good eye. And then offered me an internship on their social media team. And I know how annoying like stories like that can be, because you're like, oh, once in a lifetime, that's not going to happen.
Exactly.
It happens. No, I swear, all my life it happens.
It does.
That doesn't happen. It's about, you know, being open for that to happen, being willing to take little moments and like show, if not what you do, who you are. Because at the end of the day, people want to work with someone that they like, that they can have a chat with, that they will be interested in seeing them in the office. But for formal networking, I think it's good to have a tactic, you know, being ready in any season. Just, you know, like if you're kind of nervous about what to say, if you see someone you want to talk to, even like writing it down, you know, like having like you said before, like having like a line or two, a conversation starter, a quick icebreaker. And then not being too nervous to reach out to people on LinkedIn or, you know, friends. And then making sure you have everything in line, so if an opportunity does come your way, you have a resume prepared, you have a cover letter if you need one, you're ready for an interview, all those types of things. So, you know, a good thing I say is like preparation means opportunity. That's what my mom used to always tell me. But another thing I will say quickly that my mom also used to tell me is about hard work. You know, she's like,
I love that.
You're schooling us. You're like, hard work.
You know, from a very young age, she was like, Cameron, like, you know, you're a Black male. You have the responsibility of working twice as hard to be half as good. So I just took that mentality into any workplace, being like, if I'm going to get anywhere, I need to be the best. You know, not in a narcissistic way, not in like a nasty competitive way, but just making sure when I get there, I'm at my best self. I'm looking nice and tidy. I'm speaking well. I'm being as nice as I can be. I'm being, you know, I'm not having a bad attitude. I'm not being lazy. Even being strategic, you know, I remember at paper, I saw there were days where it was really difficult. You know, we were really tired. Huge photo shoots, lots of errands and returns, on top of people asking you to go get their coffee, on top of some people not caring to, you know, remember your name. but I was like, I need to be twice as good. I need to take all of this and I need to be better than it. I need to be better than how these people are treating me. I need to be more dedicated, more hardworking. And people saw that. People will notice it and then people respond to you, you know? It's almost like if you do someone a favor, even if it's not in their face, they'll remember and then they'll help you out in the long run.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a big element of networking,
Mhm.
being in the position to network.
I also wanted to add to like what Cameron is saying, because like what
Yeah,
he's
go
saying
ahead.
is so important. And I think also one girl, Elizabeth, said outfits can be such a good conversation starter in the fashion industry even more. And I 100% agree with that. But it immediately made me think, don't forget to actually be genuine and like authentic, you know, like don't fake compliments. I mean, you can't, like, you know, obviously, you know, maybe you're smart about it, whatever, but like, you know, like find something that you truly are interested in that person, like you want, or something you want to know more about, or, you know, because I think that especially in this industry, there is a lot of fakeness. There's a lot of people who want opportunities, and like you can get those opportunities in like a genuine and authentic way. And I think that like that takes you so far, because if you connect with someone in like a genuine way, they'll definitely remember you, you know, like it's about like when you meet people and you have these conversations with them, like, you know, just try to go beneath the surface. It's hard sometimes, you know, but it's also a really good way to make sure, you know, you make your mark and you're there, and they won't forget. They really won't.
And before we move on,
No, keep going. Keep going. We're good.
networking, like getting your foot in the door, it's so difficult. Like I swear on my life, I know how difficult it is. And I used to hear people tell me this all the time when I was telling them, I'm going to New York and be a fashion boy. You know, they were like, oh, you know, it's really difficult. In fashion, you have to know someone who knows someone. And being here now, like that's correct.
It's true. It is true. It's 100% true.
You know, like I can think back to times where I easily could have missed an opportunity and not been where I am now. And I guess the best way to tackle that is by being realistic. You know, sometimes friends in college, especially when I got my LV job, were like, oh my God, can we work at Louis Vuitton? I want to work there. Can you And then they would come to me and they would have like no resume, no experience. And I'm like, I get it. It's awesome. It's great. It's an awesome opportunity. But when I was where you were, I just knew I didn't know anyone at Louis Vuitton. I knew I wasn't prepared for that. I don't want to say lower your expectations, but be realistic in what you need to get out of an opportunity. You know, freshman year of college, I did not need to be hit with Louis Vuitton. I would have failed. I would have been unprepared. I would have not been ready. I would have flopped on the job and never got another position again. So I was like, I know I need a small brand that's manageable, that can cultivate my skills. I need like a small end. I need to be really realistic about what I want to do, and then let that propel me. Let that, you know, get me to a higher place. You know, so I knew someone there who knew someone at Tanya Taylor, who knew someone at Paper, who knew someone at Louis Vuitton, who knew someone at Gucci. So that's where networking starts. It really starts small.
Also, like, for like to add on to what he's saying, like I think like kind of like what we established, like every job brings you kind of to the next one. For example, like the connections you make at one place will inevitably, you know, like kind of bring you. So, like for example, in fashion, like don't shy away from making conversation with a makeup artist, or you know, with a photo assistant, with like, you know, just don't shy away from making conversation with anyone, because trust me, a lot of people are freelancing in the fashion industry, and you never know when that one person that you got along with so well at a photo shoot, or you know, whatever, is the person that also gets you the next thing. You know, like people, like Cameron said, people want to work with people that they like. So, you know, ultimately, like you also need to keep that in mind. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I can totally attest to that. That's actually how I got my start at Adobe as well. I was at a smaller company and I worked with an influencer. I did the influencer marketing, and he was a designer for Adobe Spark and referred me to a social media position because we just had a good time working together on a social campaign, referred me, got the position, and that's how I got my start at Adobe. So like
Mhm.
that is exactly 1000% true what both of y'all are saying. So on to the next question. We have Jalen who's asking, what catches a company's attention on a resume and cover letter, especially as a creative? I'm a photographer and major in graphic design.
Ooh, okay. I remember when I was like 15 years old, I had a friend who was like 3, 4 years older than me. I was just asking him advice. At that time, I had zero experience. Like when I tell you all that was on my like CV was, you know, my school and like my passion, like my hobbies. Like there was nothing else. And I remember he looked at my CV and he's like, "You're like creative, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, why does it look so boring?" Like the actual format of the thing. So I wouldn't go too overkill because that's very important. Like I really would not, you know, put it too colorful to it, but try to show a little bit of your personality. Like font matters, colors matter,
Yeah.
like those things in the creative industries. If I had to hire someone, which you know I'm 22, okay, so like maybe not just yet, but like still, I know that that would like it shows taste a little bit, you know, just a little bit. So I think something like that matters. And also just like nowadays, like I think LinkedIn is more of like a CV platform. Like I think a lot of people like go to LinkedIn first before like even having that like printed out paper. So I think what really helped with me was to have like keywords because like also they see so many of these. So like you want to keep it short. So I would have like bullet points like under each position that you've had or like any experience, even if it's, and also like add the volunteering that you've done, add the like extracurriculars. Like you should have those things. Show that you're like a well-rounded person, you know, like even if it has nothing to do with the industry, I think it's important. I remember I was talking to my best friend's mom, who's like quite successful in her field. Like she's like, you know, a woman who fought to get to where she is. And she was saying like, I love seeing someone with like a bunch of, you know, like not weird position, you know, but who have done different things because it also shows like you're capable of doing so much. So don't be afraid to like, if you worked at a restaurant and you want to get a fashion job, like put that down. Like that's okay. You know, that shows ethic. It shows a lot of things. So do that and put bullet points so that it's very fast and easy to read. That's my advice.
Yeah, like that formatting, you know, people want to be able to read it comfortably with their eyeballs, you know.
Exactly.
It's a big block of text, so put some dots to make it really that. It's literally that. Also, a really good two good tips for resumes in particular. Really know the job you're applying to. When I am applying to a new job, I like split my screen and I have on one side my resume and on the other side a job description. So I'm really coming through a job description asking what are they looking for? You know, maybe I was at like a styling job where they wanted me to really know designers and brands and how to put a cute outfit together and what shoes go with what bag. But this job description is saying that they need me to be proficient in Microsoft. They need me to know metrics for social media. So I'm like, okay, let me align what I can offer to what they're asking for. Because when an employer is going through your resume, you know, they're super interested in you, but they're also like, I need them to do this, they can do that. I need them to do that, yep, they can do this. You know, they're like going through and checking it almost off like a box.
Yeah.
Don't embellish and say you can do things that you can't do. But if you have to stretch your expertise a little bit, and you're confident that you can perform the task being asked of you, then go ahead. I mean, take it with a grain of salt. But sometimes
For sure.
things that I've that a job description wants from me that maybe I've seen someone do or I've assisted someone else in my you know, role doing, but I personally didn't like turn it in and submit it as an email, but I had some sort of hands in it. I'll say, yeah, I created flowcharts for so and so. I did. I assisted in budgeting for blah blah blah. You know what I mean? You know, just making sure I'm like giving what they're asking for.
Yeah.
And if I have no ties to what they're asking for, then maybe it's time to rethink the application.
Yeah.
My second thing would definitely, you know, when you like have a second thing and you say second thing,
And then you don't remember what it is anymore. Want a second to remember because I have an idea. Like I have.
Go ahead.
Okay. So what I was gonna say also. Oh my god, did I just forget what I was gonna say? No. I'm gonna remember. It was about. Okay.
Take a second. All good.
We're Cameron and I are like, where are we?
Yeah. Yeah, I can do some shout outs in chat. We have Debbie Shaw. She said, totally agree. Hanyan says, that's awesome. Hearing all your stories are so
I remember.
inspiring. Okay. All right. Go for it.
I was going to say, you need a cover letter with your CV always. I know that they don't always ask for it. I feel like nowadays they really do ask for it, but you need to show how motivated you are in that letter. It needs to be short. I would keep it to 2-3 paragraphs, describe who you are, like where you're from, what you've done. It doesn't need to be repeating like your CV. You can say exactly what makes you perfect for that job. You know, like I would like try to be smart, like be like, because this position, I learned this, I know that I can do this for you, you know, like stuff like that. And I would also, you know, I've done this before and I know it's bold. I don't think any employer would always like appreciate it, but I've also said, I don't know how to do this part of the position, but I know I'm a fast learner. I could learn it very quickly. Like you also have to be realistic. Maybe you're really good for that position, but you don't know how to fully do it, but you want to like be bold. And I think, you know, I'm a firm believer of like just going out there because like if they like you, they're gonna like at least interview you, you know, even if you, and sometimes they're willing to take a chance. So I think even if there's like something that's missing and you can be like, for example, even for my internship at Kith, I had 3 months before I started, like when I had that conversation with my boss and I was like, is there anything you want me to learn like before I start? Like I have 3 months where I can like really like learn, like if you need me to learn a program or something, like I can do that. So just put that out there, you know, don't be afraid to like say, I don't know how to do this, but like I will excel at it. Like if you give me the chance, you know, so that's one thing. Should we put everything in one PDF? No, I would say resume on one paper and cover letter on another. And I would put in your cover letter that you have work that you could share if they would like to. You can maybe add a link if you want to in that, or just wait for them to ask. Because if they want to see it, they'll ask you. But don't send like a whole like PowerPoint of like everything you've done unless it's specifically asked for. And my experience and what I've heard from other people, they just don't. It's too much, you know.
Yeah, got it.
To piggyback off of that, sometimes what I kind of started doing recently, in terms of resume specifically, is I don't put every single experience I've had all the time. I mean, if you have limited experience, then you know you have to work with what you have, of course. Yeah. But I'll try to tailor the experiences I have to the position that I'm applying for, you know, what, like, you know, just to keep visually, you know, enough white space on the page for someone's brain to be under control. I just like pick the 3 strongest ones or the 3 strongest experiences that align most. You sometimes not the biggest ones, not the biggest jobs, but the 3 jobs that cater to what they're asking for the most, and just like list those.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, there you have it. Awesome tips for resume and CV. So now we are going to take a little break from the Q&A and go into some awesome projects y'all have made using Creative Cloud Express. And for those of you who are new to the job series, the Dream Job series, we do these little demos just so we can get a behind the scenes look on the guests' creative workflows and how they create some of their projects, whether if it's personal or for work. So that's exactly what we're about to do. So Leia, would you like to start us off?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hit play.
I hit play. Oh, you hit play. Okay.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good. I'm sharing it.
Yeah. So basically I do a lot of these at work. So I'm going to share with you kind of how I concept but I also do this for me personally. I just like to concept kind of ideas for photo shoots, how I would envision, for example, this shoe. I chose this shoe and I decided to make a concept of what I think a photo shoot could look like for this shoe. Like if we had this product. how I would make that happen. I like to just have it for my own personal portfolio. Sometimes, you don't have experience anywhere. So this is a great way to show what you can do. Even if you've never worked anywhere, you can just do like very conceptual, like hypotheticals kind of. So I go on Pinterest. That's one of like my main sources of inspiration. I already have like here an album, as you can see. What I do is like I find photos that I like, and then from those photos, I look into similar photos. For example, that cloud one, it's on theme. I added to that like album. And I continue to just add things that I think fit well with like my vision. And then now what I did was that I put them in a separate folder. I just drag it onto my desktop so that I can, slowly use those images for the mood board that I'm creating. For that like photography concept. I also use Google Images, Getty Images, archive.org, Tumblr. Tumblr's great, Google Images is great, but Pinterest is just like I don't know, my favorite thing to use at the moment. It's just easy. So basically like that's what I'm doing. Like you can see all these references that I'm pulling. And yeah, what else am I doing right now? Yeah. So here you can see that's the shoe. And then I do different folders. So this is kind of like the props that I would use and the position I could see the model in, especially because this I'm thinking, I would do this in studio. And then this is very much the vibe / like stuff that we could recreate, and the color palette. For me, color, I'm a very visual person and I love having like my colors kind of aligned. I don't know if that makes any sense. But it's just like important to me that the colors like match the vision that I have kind of. Love color coordinating. I'm super like stressed out if it doesn't match and everything. So yeah, anyways. So here I open Adobe Creative Cloud Express, and I just went to go get the shoe and like confirm the name of it because I wasn't 100% sure. And so usually I'm like really, how do I say? Like I like having my font a little more like simple, and here I'm matching the colors again to the theme, but I want it, the shoe is fun. So like remember what product you're working with. I have a fun shoe. I'm going to go for a fun font. I'm going to color coordinate it because, I feel like that just brings everything together. I don't know. There's just something about color coordinating. I was really struggling with this rectangle. But anyway, so now I screenshotted the shoe so that I could like fit it in there. I like to have this like little section on the side where I can kind of like, it's a global view of my concept. Like it's really only 4 photos on the product, but it's just in that small corner, that's what I'm interested in like making happen, and then from there, like you'll see, I'm going to go into my whole like mood board situation. But it's just like great, for whoever you're working with, like it's always nice to have like a small idea before you get to the bigger picture. It's just easier to follow, especially because now I simplified it for you guys. I very much only added like a vibe and position, but in some decks I need to add models, I need to add very specific locations, multiple locations, and you kind of get confused. So it's nice to have that like one like global vision. Okay, anyways, so here I'm like rearranging to have it in like an order that I like. What's really great is so easy to like move the layers on Express. Like they just like they make it so easy to like move it up and down, around. Like as you can see, like really it's taking me. It's very easy to do, and like it didn't take me that much time at all. And it's very like intuitive. It's not like you need to get the hang of it. Like really, like it's so great. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, so now here I'm like rearranging it. Like I want it to be aligned more. And then here I kind of put like the title of what I imagine, like yearbook picture / cloud backdrop. Like that's kind of like what I would have it. I saved it. And that's the final image. I hope you
love
like
that.
it. You can pause it if you want so people can have like a little bit more of a
yeah.
I'll
bring it to the end.
Yeah, just so I can like. Yeah, so basically that's like the final image. Like I said, sometimes I have multiple of these. So like a little like PDF document with like a few like slides kind of. But here I didn't need to. And I feel like, you get it. You see here, like I want clouds. I want blue and red to reflect the blue and red of the shoe. Like I want something playful. I want something young because the shoe is playful and young. I want simple props, but still something, that adds a little bit of edge, and like the positions to be a little, like different than just, standing there and like with the shoe, and, so that's kind of just what I had in mind. This is fully fictional, but it's
Yeah.
really a great way. Like, if you add this to your portfolio, like that counts. Just because it isn't like it didn't happen doesn't mean that this doesn't count. Like, you can use this. So yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, it looks so good. And there was a lot of like attention to detail with like aligning everything, adjusting the layers and
Yeah.
stuff. So
Detail's important. And
yeah.
showing, like, like I said, like, you want things to be clean, you don't want it to be like, especially if you have an employer looking at it, like it shouldn't be too all over the place. It should be a reflection of you also, which I think is important, if you're creative. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Leia. That was such a good
Yes,
demo. And now we're gonna get into Cameron's.
All right.
All right, you
So-
ready?
Wait. Okay. So my demo is basically a proposal for an influencer dressing, which means if we have an influencer coming to like a show or an event, like this is how I say, this is what we're gonna wear. So our influencer is Wisdom Kai. He's a TikToker. He came to our fashion show in Milan, the Adidas collab fashion show, a few weeks ago. And I actually took this template from something that was already on Creative Cloud Express. It's really simple because you can just like, they have so many templates you can use. So you just like, use it and adjust it. So as you can see, I adjust the name. I got a little Gucci logo that was already in PNG format and popped it at the bottom. And I'm just gonna do a little bit of titling, Fall Winter 2022 fashion show dressing, basically saying what this document is for. Also, there's a lot of cute options where you can change colors. Like if you guys saw it in the beginning, I cut out Wisdom's face and used a color directly from the image and dropped it into the background. So everything can look nice and cohesive. Same thing I did here with the fonts. Like I took that subtitle, duplicated it to make a same font for the description. I loved using these little icons. I used stars because the last show we did, the icon was stars. It was on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So I was like, okay, I'll just drop this in for context since a lot of those looks would probably be from that show. So I used the remove background portion again to add our little Gucci GG, put in the corner just to like visually balance it out a little bit. And here is sort of the final product for the first section of this piece. This is like one of three. I also changed the font a little bit. I love the font in the template, but this one was a little bit more aligned with what I would use at work for an actual proposal. So I just adjusted it a little bit, made it easy to read. So now I'm going to delete all of those big chunks so I can have a base layer for what the whole presentation will look like. So now we're on to defining Wisdom as an influencer. Who is he? How does he dress? So I went on his Instagram and kind of found 3 looks that kind of look like what Gucci would want, like aligned, elevated, kind of quirky. And I used that feature where I just deleted the background so they can look nice and like streamlined and cute. I get like scared with tools like Creative Cloud sometimes because I have a very specific of how it looks visually. But it was so easy to just make it come together because you can do it everywhere. So here I like put a little bit of statistics about Wisdom. I don't know his measurements, so I just use my own. So I'm 6'4", my waist is 32. I put that to the sides and it looks a little bunchy, so I'm gonna expand the line so it can have a little bit more space in between each line. So my manager, whoever reads this, can read it a little bit more clearly. So now on the right side, I'm gonna go into a little bit of Wisdom and how he dresses. So it's like classic suave tailoring or like avant grunge. And I'm gonna take that, squeeze it up a little bit, put it into a paragraph. And so the paragraph can look the same. I'm going to just duplicate the paragraph and then write the next one. So all of it can just, be a little bit more cohesive. So now I'm going to suggest what outfits we're going to pull from him. So I'm thinking something from the spring summer 2022 collection, some outerwear. Then I'm gonna duplicate it again so I can write why I think these pieces would work. So he's a TikToker, right? So tailoring so it can wear it in a bunch of TikToks or like a statement piece, so it can really get a lot of views or a lot of what do you call that? Impressions on TikTok. So I saved that and deleted all the content so I can go on to the next phase, which is choosing the looks. So at first I was like, okay, easy. I'm just gonna make like what do you call that thing? A collage, yeah. But I got to the collage, I didn't quite love it. I didn't love it with the template. So I decided I'm gonna stay with the routine of picking the outfits from our different fashion shows and just cutting out the backgrounds, which is super easy. So these are all like tailoring looks I think Wisdom will look good in. We take these looks, send a request to our Milan team and be like, hey, can we have this suit from last season? Can we have this outfit from a few seasons ago? They can be like, yes, yes, no, no, yes, no. So I just cut out the backgrounds, aligned it, almost like how I did with Wisdom Slide, sized it up so it can look nice and cohesive. I love it because it was easy to maneuver around the base I already have. So it's like same icons of the stars I got from the icon menu, same Gucci logo at the bottom and on the left, same name, the same place. So it's all easy to move around. So after that, I'm gonna write what the looks are. I skipped through that on the bottom. So where each look is from. And now, say I'm my manager, I'm going to choose the looks that we're actually gonna pull, like our favorite looks to request to Milan. So I took that same star icon that I got in the beginning, changed the color, moved it up a couple of spaces so it can be on top of the looks. So I'm thinking Wisdom will really look good in this like sequin dark blue jacket. He will look good in this like tailored vest and multicolored pant and blazer. And then we would take this, get it approved by our Milan team, and then send it to the influencers team, celebrity team. And they could be like, again, yes, yes, no, no, yes, no, yes. And we can pick one outfit. We ship it to them for a lot of money, and then they wear it and take pictures in it, create content, and then it's an awesome time. So just a quick way of just moving through it is basically how you do it from a template. Super easy to use, especially if you just, use the bare template, add your little personality. I also did the demo on iPad, which made it really easy to move around. So, yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to say, yeah, this is an iPad demo. And then what Leia did was actually on desktop. So there are two different ways to utilize Creative Cloud Express. So that was great. Thank you so much for those demos. That was awesome. Rapid fire, how I like to end off the Q&As is just one last question. So if folks were to take one thing away from the stream, aka like your last piece of advice, if they were to remember one thing from this talk, what would it be? Anyone can start.
One thing. Oh, thanks, Cameron. Okay. Curiosity is super important. Curiosity is key. Kindness is key. The energy you bring to the table, very important. Always just start that conversation. Like, just do it. And always keep in contact. Always LinkedIn. Oh my gosh. Stay true to yourself because people want to hire you for you. As much as you might think that you're nothing special, like you are. You are something special. There's only one you. And if you're not going to be you, then what's the point? Like you got to be you. So I think that's important.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Lead with kindness, be yourself. I definitely say hard work. Like, be a hard worker. Don't be scared of it. Be excited about working hard. Like, know the benefits
be excited.
that hard work is gonna reap. Especially if if anyone out there is, like a Black person, a Mexican person, a Korean person, you know, a gay person, a trans person, an Indian person, you know, Dominican, like, you know, just know that it's difficult, you know, especially in fashion. It's whitewashed sometimes, it's unkind sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's great benefits if you're willing to, you know, work twice as hard, you know, and let your personality come through in that hard work. You know, don't shy away. Don't become a different person who's really in the books and blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, be a cool person, but just be a cool person who does the most.
Exactly. And also, like, one thing that I just wanted to add, because I'm sure, like, I see, like, through the comments, like, a lot of you guys are worried, and, like, it is scary. And even with my best friend, she's graduating college, and she's like, I have no internship, no job line. I'm like, 3 months ago, I didn't have one either, you know? And so I think it's really important to know that, like, again, I think everything happens for a reason. Like, you're on your path, like you're on your way to get somewhere. So if you keep all of these things in mind, like if you're open, if you're authentic, if you're yourself, if you're if you're curious, if you're putting yourself out there, there's no reason it won't happen for you. It just takes time. It just takes meeting one person. Everything can change, you know? So like, just like I am literally the most impatient person on the planet, but be patient sometimes, you know, like just know, like it will come in time.
Yeah, and sometimes things really do happen randomly.
It does. No, like literally a cookie changed my life.
Really random, like a cookie and Abercrombie and Fitch.
Yeah,
like,
who knew?
You know, even I'll be honest, even I remember last spring, this time last year, especially towards the end of my semester, I was freaking out because I had spent my entire college career doing internships, and I had been working. I had been in the industry, and I did not have a job lined up. You know, my friends had jobs lined up, and I saw my like finance friends who were like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be working at JP Morgan." Like, I literally, you know, just busted my butt at like the top fashion company in the world, and I don't have something lined up. I'm like hyperventilating. I was having really bad panic attacks, anxiety attacks.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just did this all for nothing. But as difficult as it was, I didn't let that show through. I still remained positive, a hard worker. And 1 month came, I still did not have a job. It was June, I did not have a job. It was July, I did not have a job. It was August, I was just now applying to places after submitting, 10, 15 applications. And then it eventually came.
Yeah.
So, you know, in college, it's so easy to really like have a stronghold on like this trajectory or like, you know, these clear steps to a career. And honestly, it doesn't always happen like that. You know, sometimes it does happen at a coffee shop or like on the subway or on LinkedIn, you know, or here in the chat or on Discord or on Instagram DM. You know what I mean? It's just, it really can happen anywhere. So just be ready.
Yes. Boom. Well, there you have it. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with us, Leya and Cameron, and also everyone in chat. I can speak for all of us when we say like the community really, really appreciates it, that you share your knowledge and expertise and experience with us. So thank you so much. All right. Now, so let's talk about that giveaway that we mentioned. So we have 3 fun remixable templates made with Creative Cloud Express, and we want to know who your dream company or client is that you would like to work for. And we are going to manifest it. We're going to put it out into the universe, and we're going to put it on LinkedIn. So in the chat, I have a mod. Jordan will drop the template link, and I'm going to just quickly show how to do it. It's super simple. It's not a whole presentation, but basically when you click on the link, it'll lead you here to this library of templates. So there's a blank version, and then there's one with like a kind of like an example with a stock photo and stuff, and you can just replace it, kind of like a guide. But feel free to even create your own template or switch up the colors or something like that. But when you're going into the library and you're working from a template, all you have to do is just pull it up. It'll be something like this. Replace the photo just by hitting the guide, or if you're on a blank, you just, in this case, I'll hit replace. You can upload your own photo, pull from Lightroom if you want to, or there's even a template that doesn't even require a photo. So if you don't want to put your photo, totally fine. And then, oh, time to refresh the window. Give me 1 second. I was on it for too long. Okay, so it's going to pull up again the session. I was on it for too long. No worries. So just click it, hit replace. I have all of my stuff in Lightroom. So we're just going to click on Lightroom. Go pick a nice headshot of you if you want to, of course. Hit replace, and then it should take out the background and everything. And then I'm just going to size it up. It's all rendered and sharpened. Looks pretty good. And then from here, you can replace it with the brand name or a logo. Get really fun with it, really creative. And then let's just put, I'm going to put Gucci. Gucci's cool. And Kith. Let's put and Kith also, just because I have you both here. Gotta represent. I put Gucci with 3 C's. What's going on? Spelling words. Okay, so once I do that, then all you have to do is hit download, download as a PNG, and then after that, once it's saved to your device, share it on LinkedIn, and then tag us with Adobe Creative Cloud Express, and also include the hashtag Adobe Dream Job and hashtag express it for a chance to be randomly selected for a one-to-one mentoring session with either Cameron or Leia, and a free 1-year Creative Cloud subscription. And bonus points if you post your design or link to it in the challenge submissions channel in the Creative Career Discord server. So I'm just going to show some examples. So here is the Discord. There's a little section where it says like the Dream Job event series, and then here are some example templates that people have made. And so these folks have won a mentoring session with the past events, and this honestly could be you as well. So participate in the giveaway. It is super fun. And yeah. Oh, speaking of Discord, we are having an after party in the Creative Career Discord server where you can continue to hang out and continue the conversation and ask questions for Cameron and Leia. But if you can't make the after party, no worries. You can connect with us on social. And as you can see on the little slide, there's an arrow pointing to the party room. We'll be in that channel right after this talk. So hop on there right after the live stream. But yes, do we have their social handles? I think, Jordan, can you drop them in chat? But Leia or Cameron, do you want to talk, drop your socials really quick?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at l.d.i. I know it's a little confusing. I don't know, sometimes people struggle to find me, but it's L.D.I. And then on TikTok at Leya Ijaz, so that's LEYAJAZZ. And then of course LinkedIn is just my name, but you guys can see that on the chat just in case.
Perfect. And Cameron?
You guys can follow me on Instagram at company with 2 C's and 3 Y's. CCOMPANYYY.
Love that. Love that. And then if you want to follow me as well, I'm just at Katrina Torrijos. Feel free if you have any questions on Creative Cloud Express or just want to see if you have any other event ideas that you want to bring to the table, feel free to DM me, or if you want to chat, my DMs are definitely open. And lastly, we also would love your feedback on this event so that we can make it better for you in the future. So please take a moment to fill out the post-event survey. The link is in the chat. I am hearing a little bit
I'm hearing too.
Yeah. I'm hearing a little bit of feedback, but that's okay. So anyways, with that said, that wraps it up for this session. Don't forget to fill out the survey. And yeah, thank you all so much for joining. And thank you so much, Leia and Cameron, for joining us
Bye,
this
guys.
evening. And we'll see you in Discord. All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much.